Professor Janice Light described the ability to communicate as the very essence of human life. Almost 10% of people currently live with a communication disorder, and in the UK there are approximately 1.3 million stroke survivors. Of these stroke survivors, 1/3 will develop the language impairment aphasia. Aphasia is a non-visible disability which impacts a person's ability to formulate or comprehend language. Communication technologies called augmentative and alternative communication devices have been posited as a means to fix the communication of communities living with aphasia. Through tablet-based interactions and symbolic sequencing, a user slowly generates sentences to output electronic speech. But what if people actually don't need fixing? Indeed, these mainstream AAC technologies are almost never adopted by communities living with aphasia, and have been found to disempower. For my PhD, I have collaborated extensively with London-based communities living with aphasia and the charity Aphasia Reconnect to co-design better communication technologies and AAC devices. In my first study, we directly asked people about their communication challenges.
Not believing, but not even knowing that I've had a stroke, because physically I look normal. But they don't, they just look at you like, oh, why do you need a seat?
We found that communication difficulties were strongly tied to contexts. For instance, people living with aphasia may struggle to request a seat on the tube from strangers, but find it considerably easier to communicate with a loved one. From this frame, we then looked to co-design wearable and socially discrete technologies to support people's voice and abilities. These co-designed human solutions moved away from typical iPad form factors. In my next study, we specifically considered the smartwatch as a means to augment and support the wearer's communication abilities. Smartwatches naturally have more positive social connotations of health, fitness, and wellness. Through extensive collaboration, we converted the smartwatch into a multimodal public display to show to onlookers. Plus, we co-designed other features, including supports for mindful breathing to quell potential communication anxieties. Next, in my latest published study, we looked to appropriate objects of empowerment favoured by communities living with aphasia, including badges, lanyards, crossbody satchels, and communication cards. This culminated in 2 badge prototypes that afford a range of bodily placements. Firstly, a low-power e-ink smart badge called the Ink Talker that supports asking for help, informing of an invisible disability, seat requesting, communicating interests, and more. Next, we built Walkie Talkie, a wearable smartphone-based application providing customizable badges, sunflower identification, and more. I want to thank my advisors Timothy Neat and Rita Borgo, plus my charity partner Aphasia Reconnect,